I talked about this on Saturday on a Fox Sports radio show that I hosted with a friend of mine in this business, and now it is starting to really circle the wagons, circle the drain here. According to Jason Scheer, a well-respected, now Big 12 reporter for the Wildcats Authority is his official plug, Arizona Wildcats beat reporter who are now in the Big 12, very dialed-in, plugged-in guy here, says there is an internal belief in the Big 12 that Florida State and Clemson are likely to join the conference within the next year or so. And it's basically what I was preaching the other day on Saturday. This is going to happen. Whether you like it or not is a whole nother ballgame argument topic of discussion. But at this point, it's going to happen. This is what college football is. And more than any of that, the Big Ten snubbing their nose at Clemson and Florida State because of either academics or they just don't want them. They don't want to split up the piece of the pie again. And the SEC saying, we're good. What are you guys doing? This is your chance to really teeter-totter the scale in favor of you over the SEC or the Big Ten. If you had Clemson and Florida State to the Big Ten, they're better than the SEC and vice versa. And both of them said, we're good. You're not smart enough for our academics. What are you doing? What are you doing? At first, the Big Ten and the SEC blazed this path, blazed this trail of, we're going to be the teams to get out in front of this conference realignment. Snubbing your nose at two prestigious organizations like Clemson and Florida State and letting them wander over to the Big 12 is just insanity. It's not going to cost them their conference, but instead of there being a Big 2, you will always have to incorporate the Big 12. And as an Arizona State grad, so now a Big 12 guy, this is fantastic news. The Big 12 continues to grab a life preserver and hang on for dear life, and then find now a lifeboat and start rowing to shore. That's what they're doing. Because the Big 12 saw what the Pac-12 wasn't doing, saw what the ACC wasn't doing. And Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, deserves so much praise for this. Instead of tucking your tails between your legs, and Oklahoma and Texas walked out that door, instead of crying yourself to sleep, Yormark basically said, yeah, let's get to work. And get to work he did. He allows this conference this year to be viable with all these extra added teams. It's not a lot of quality, but a lot of quantity. And the middle of the pack of that conference is going to be very good. The SEC and the Big Ten are top heavy. And yes, they'll still be better than the Big 12, but you'll have to respect the Big 12 as a Power 3 conference in this said college football world. And I don't think it should stop there. It probably will with those two teams. But I don't think it should stop there. Bring in Miami. Bring in North Carolina and Duke for basketball. Big 12 already is the best basketball conference, bar none. Imagine if you added those two teams, the North Carolina and Duke. It would be the NCAA tournament of the Big 12. That's what it would be. Arizona. Houston's usually pretty good. Duke, North Carolina, Baylor, Kansas. It would be the NCAA men's basketball championship tournament of the Big 12. And then some invitees around the country. It is incredibly smart, and this is the new college football landscape. And Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, has seized the opportunity. He didn't cry and put his tail between his legs when Texas and Oklahoma walked out that door in the middle of the night. They said, that sucks. Now let's put together a roster and a conference that can compete with the Big Ten and the SEC. And if Clemson and Florida State, and who knows, maybe even Miami, come join the Big 12, that is a monstrous grab. It makes the Big 12 relevant, and you can't just kick out the Big 12 if the Big 10 and SEC said, yeah, we don't want the NCAA. Let's just start our own thing. You have to bring the Big 12 along with you. It's not so much little brother anymore. And the Big 12, having Florida State and Clemson, yes, those are the two top-heavy teams. But you can argue 3 through, 16 at that point? 15 at that point? Those teams are all viable, good, rich teams. Rich history teams. And the SEC doesn't have that. You got Vanderbilt and whatnot talking about what they're going to do and just nonsense. It just makes so much sense that the Big 12 are doing this. It's smart, it's proactive, and it's the exact reason why the Big 12 is still in business and will continue to be business, and business will soon be booming because the ACC and the Pac-12 wanted to sit on their hands and snub their noses to the, we're not worried about conference realignment. That's what lost to USC. That's what lost to UCLA, Pac-12. And it's what's going to soon cost you the other two teams in the ACC. And it's going to cost them even more teams when they scramble. And if I was the ACC, any team in the ACC, if I was a fan of Duke or Georgia Tech or whatever, I'd be a fan base begging to join what is the future Big 12. I'm an ASU fan. I used to be a U of A fan. I remember what it was like. I remember what it was like being a Pac-12 member and saying, please get over to the Big 12 as soon as you can. That is the life preserver we need. And a life preserver it now is for the Big 12. And any Florida State or Clemson fans that are snubbing their noses with the, we're not going to the Big 12, you don't have a choice. Because the Big 10 doesn't want you. Because the ACC doesn't want you. And if they don't want you, where are you going to go? You'll become an irrelevant organization. You'll become an irrelevant organization. Recruits won't go to you. Money will then start to dwindle down the drain. And Florida State's the same way. If I'm Dabo Swinney, and if I'm Mike Norvell, I am ecstatic to be able to join this conference with the commissioner that has continued to see around corners, just like the Big Ten and the SEC did. The Pac-12 didn't, and it's gone. It's an embarrassment. It's a joke. Just like that, all those years of tradition, down the drain. Because George Kliavkoff, the Pac-12 commissioner, was a complete and utter buffoon and sat on his hands. And now you see that with the ACC. They're sitting on their hands. They're going to have to react to something that's already happened instead of being the one to start the reaction. And it's what's going to end the ACC. It's what's going to end already the Pac-12. And it's what's going to elevate the Big 12 up to the standards of the Big 10 and the SEC. And I can't wait for it. And it's great for college football. And every Big 12 team that joined them this past year is excited and relieved that they joined the correct life preserver. Because the ACC is down the drain, the Pac-12 is down the drain, and the Big 12 will continue to thrive because Clemson and Florida State will soon be on the move. And the only thing I have to say is I just hope, and the fan in me, I kind of pray that they don't even stop there. They go and get Miami. They try to go get a Duke and a North Carolina. Academics aside, who cares about any of that? That's not the new world of college sports. How much money do you have? How relevant are you? And how rich can you make me? That is what matters in college football. Whether I like it or not, it feels a little icky at times. But life moves on. You can either stand still and be left behind or get on the bus. And the Big 12 and the Commissioner Yormark got on the bus. And for that reason, they're going to be rewarded and not be decimated like the SEC. Not be decimated like the ACC and the Pac-12 are going to be.